Right, so this is Hashihime of the Old Book Town, also known as Koshotengai no Hashihime. Let's start. According to the man, the phantom lived in the basement. Night after night, he would kidnap someone, tie them to a cold chair, and tell him his questionable life story until the break of dawn. He spoke. Without passion or emotion, he spoke about himself, as if speaking of someone else. If I had to complain about one thing, it would be how cold the chair was. My second complaint would be that the man's story was boring. And my third was that the man seemed to want my final opinion on it. Why would you want something like that? Because I'm the phantom. Up until a moment ago, I should have been looking out at the Shiodome River from Shin Bridge. You get it now? He asked. But before I offered my opinion, I had one question. When will the morning come? Once I'm dawn. Okay. Once I'm dawn. If the phantom said it was night, it would become night. If he said it was morning, it would become morning. But once he did, it was no longer Japan, nor was it another world. It was a so-called world of illusions, with its own concept of time that the phantom controlled. This story begins with me, a man harboring obscure anxieties about the transient world, being detained by a curious and grotesque monster. It's a miserable and beautiful story about me finally clinging to life when faced with a genuine god of death. At least, it should have been. When he finished turning the last page, he tapped the now bare table with his middle finger. He seemed to be demanding something, or searching for something. It cut into the gramophone's brisk melody. At any rate, I could tell the behavior was out of disgust. What is this? Without thinking, I blurted out the same thing. I had expected his voice to be more full of praise and admiration. His reaction was somehow different from what I had imagined. Maybe I had given him the wrong manuscript? Thinking that it could be impossible, I took a peek. No matter how many times I looked it over, though, it was the story that I'd written, The Phantom in the Basement. Kawase blew out the tobacco smoke he was holding in. An indescribable smile was waiting me beyond the haze I parted. Kawase pulled the manuscript towards himself and looked it over again. He traced over the last lines with his pinky finger over and over again in disgust. When will the morning come, once I'm dawn? His cigarette sprung up like a shishiodoshi and scattered ash all over the page. As if that weren't enough, he snubbed the flame out on my manuscript. The flame burned through several pages before the smoldering sound stopped. He tilted his head in confusion when I immediately gathered up the manuscript pages.
今回のは第1弾であってだな。第2弾、第3弾と連なって初めて完成するのだ。なのに、
An impressive hole pierced right through the middle of the manuscript. And it seems that this game has some problems about sound management. Yes, the BG is quite loud. Let's see if we can remedy that. I can't click settings. Why can't I click settings? When I glared at him through that small peephole, Kawase pulled out his wallet in annoyance. Hello? I can click load, but I can't click settings. What? Okay. Okay, I don't know about you, but that fed right into my ears, so I wonder if that is okay. Yeah, okay. Cool. That's not the problem. It seems we have solved the problem. That's not the problem, Kawase. The problem was the audio. He was like an old man, flashing a mouthful of gold teeth. Even if you rebuild the crumbling enamel with gold and silver, they're still not the teeth you had to begin with. And yet, I wasn't such an ogre that I wouldn't take his feelings into consideration and try to settle things out of court, so to speak.
ちり紙にしては高くついたな。ちり紙だと？貴様というやつはもういい。
What a thoroughly evil man. He was a devil, and he most likely had no idea what sort of feelings I had put into this manuscript. He couldn't imagine just how much planning, and more planning I put into each page with my hands, my eyes, and my heart. I faked a cough and let out a sigh. It wasn't as if I had no talent. There was no way I had no skill whatsoever. It was all Kawase's fault. He was an unfeeling, unemotional devil.
今なんて貧相な感性だと言ったのだ。聞き捨てならないね。審美眼があると言ってほしい。審美眼か。所詮宝石が自ら輝くまでその価値に気づけないくせに。自分が何かの原石だって言いたいの？言い訳だけはしゃれてるね。言い訳などではない。それによく分かった。お前がどれだけつまらない人間かということがな。
This was the 4th time I had asked Kawase for a critique. The first time, when I was nervous, he'd crumpled it up. The second time, when I was hopeful, he'd sent it flowing away on the river. And then the third time, when I was fully prepared, he turned it into a paper airplane and sent it flying away into the sky.
何を見せてもつまらない。何を聞いても退屈だ。もう難があるのは貴様の方としか思えない。本当に失礼なやつだな君は。俺だって心に響けば手を叩くし、感動できれば君を撫でてあげるよ。それはそれで気持ち悪い。ああ、早く君をワシャワシャしてあげたい。
Sorry. What exactly are you trying to say with that deadpan voice? Things like that could make me flare up at him again and again. But unable to find the right words for a comeback, I swallowed my feelings. I was the one who had asked a guy like this for critiques. I was the one who had brought it up, so there was absolutely no way I could back down.
明日出直す。楽しみだね。次はもう少し多めに持ってこよう。
Kawase said, tapping his wallet.
また持つことになるだろうからね。
What an utterly vile man. Is this your friend? Is this an editor? Man, what kind of friend is this? Kawase lit his last match as he held a cigarette in his smirking mouth. But perhaps my curses had worked, because it wouldn't light. In the end, the head of the match broke off and rolled tragically away.
あれ？しけってる。
Hmm?
梅雨ってのは生きにくい季節だよ。
Kawase commented on the weather as he tossed the matchbox away. Now it's raining. The thin glass distorted the sky, making me worry even more about getting back. It felt as though the sound of the rain tapping against the window was telling me to hurry on home.
私はこれで失礼する。食うだけ食って帰るなんて想像しいやつだな。
Which one of us was being obnoxious now? I gathered up the remaining pages Kawase had read and discarded, then glared at him. Kawase brought his coffee to his now lonely lips, the corners of his eyes crinkling as he smiled crudely. One day, one of my stories will hit you so hard you'll look positively drunk. When I thought that, I cracked a smile as well.
邪悪な顔だね。お前こそ。時間は明日の昼、君の家だ。ああ、来たれ来たれ。俺から逃げ出そうなんて思うなよ。
Do people talk like this with their friends? I don't know, man.
当たり前だ。お前も意地を張らず、そろそろ素直になって。
Soon. Our minor argument was suddenly drowned out by a deep rumbling, along with an eerie sound that seemed to be speeding right at us. The ground shook violently. I was immediately thrown to the floor. Ugh! Waitresses screamed. Ah! Plates broke. The window panes creaked. Kawase spat out his coffee. The moment I was flung from my seat, my manuscript scattered all over the place again. What had just happened? The roar grew distant, and the shaking gradually subsided. One page from my manuscript gently covered the top of my head. When I removed it and looked up at the ceiling, the chandelier, which was spinning around and around, made me dizzy. The guests and waitresses fell silent. They all had the same look on their faces. Only the gramophone sang its jazz like it was completely unaware.
How
is that possible? You're on a train.
バカか君。地震に決まってるだろ、地震。地震。こんなに大きいのは初めてだな。そう。去年くらいから結構頻発してると思うけど。くそ。
Kawase looked down at his chest and grieved for his uniform, which was damp with coffee, I see. It wasn't all that bad. He could just wipe it off and let it dry on his own, but Kawase clicked his tongue dramatically.
今日は最低最悪の日だ。たかが服が濡れたぐらいでなんだ。君の安い服とはわけが違うんだよ。巷じゃ服を汚すのが流行っているのだぞ。人の価値は服にあらず、本質にありとな。外見より中身を。ね。だったら裸になって自分の高潔性を示しなよ。
I'm sure he will eventually.
それが一番手っ取り早いが、法に触れるのは怖い。だろうね。結局君は慣習にとらわれない自分を見てほしいだけなんでしょ。いやしいね。早速外見に滲み出てるよ。
Well, I mean, I can kind of understand that feeling.
ガトリング砲のような嫌味だな。
His eyes are very blue. Feeling as though I should back off from Kawase and his pissy mood, I once again began to gather up my manuscript. Man, again. Everyone in the earthquake-shaken cafe had calmed down and begun to move. Wait, we're not in a train. We're not in a train. The seats just look like train seats. We're in a cafe. Everyone that was... What's not coming out? Cake? Sigh. Except for Kawase.
汚れているようには見えないが。
The coffee on his shirt. Okay, okay.
君のメガネがすでに汚れてるからだ。
Just in case, I cleaned my glasses and took another look, but I really couldn't understand what he was so upset about. Could black clothes be stained even blacker than they were to begin with? I guess his fussiness really was some kind of disorder. Okay. Even I wasn't stupid enough to fan the flames by trying to understand his pain. Oh, this guy, man. As I started to quickly try to wrap things up here, a waitress made her way towards us.
さん。
何？
お体お拭きいたします。
I'll wipe you off. Yeah, let me clean you up. Whoa! She bowed, then fell to her knees and began to eagerly wipe off Kawase's uniform. Was falling to your knees necessary? It's just his chest, right? Her pink handkerchief turned a faint coffee brown. If I could guess why she was doing this, then the actual person she was doing it to must have realized the waitress's feelings for him already. I wondered what Kawase would do. Well, it was pointless either way. Probably because he's gay.
おい君、あのだな。
やめてくれ、汚いから。
そうだ、大事な手ぬぐいが汚れてしまう。だからあんまりその男には。
いいんです。汚れてもいいんです。この手ぬぐいはおばあちゃんが刺繍してくれた大切な手ぬぐいです。けど。
Oh, this girl. Oh, there was a red flower blooming on it.
帝大の、いえ、あなた様のお召し物にシミがついては。
君が汚いって言ってるの。
Oh my god, this dude, everyone in this story so far is the heartbeat sound.
知らないババアが触れた手ぬぐいなんてなおさら嫌だね。
Oh my god.
おばあちゃんの話は嘘です。私が縫いました。
How cunning? It was like she knew she could just attach some kind of sentimental value to a simple handkerchief just by starting it off with, "It's my grandmother's." However, that only infuriated Kawase even more. What was the point of that? And then saying that, oh, by the way, I was just lying, huh? Yeah. Drip, drip. Kawase poured his remaining coffee over the waitress's head. She trembled and let out a delayed yelp.
上級は上級らしく奉仕したら。
ご奉仕ですか？
見てわかんないの？コーヒーがこぼれた。この店の大臣が甘いせいだよ。おかわりくらい黙って提供してほしいね。
I hope this guy isn't one of the love interests, cause man, his personality is so bad. The waitress was dumbfounded by his stone-cold eyes. She probably never thought the person she admired would ever treat her this way. Normally, I would have kept quiet and ignored them, but today I found my eyes wandering nervously. Yeah.
聞いてる？
What on earth? Kawase said, grabbing the waitress's hair and turning her ear toward him.
川瀬。
前々からこの髪も気に入らなかった。バッサリ言った方が可愛いんじゃないの？
Oh my god. Naturally, everyone in the cafe was focusing their gazes on us. This is such a situation. The other waitresses were paralyzed with fear in the back, and even the timid chef made a rare appearance. What a mess. I like this cafe's food. Damn it, I can't come here again. Oh. Now, it would be awkward to come here. Oh, this girl!
今すぐコーヒーをお持ちします。
Ah, there's a flower in her eye. Is that a heart? Oh, good lord. Okay. Okay, alright. I mean, different folks for different strokes, right? Different strokes for different folks. The waitress should have been in shock, but her eyes were sparkling. When Kawase let go of her hair, she went off to grab him another coffee with quite spring in her step. Once she regrouped with the other waitresses, they went back to their lively chatter. Nothing happened. Everything was normal. It's normal to treat girls this way. She pressed the handkerchief Kawase had touched to her nose and ended up sharing its smell with the other servers.
どんくさい女。ああ、これが一番着慣れてたんだけどね。まああと3着あるしいいか。
なぜだ。
Dude, Tamamori, you as the MC, you better have a good reaction in the next click, man.
何が汚い髪触っちゃった。
なぜなのだ。
だから何が。
なぜお前中心に世界が回るのだ。
Okay, that's good enough, that's good enough.
君はあんなのに好かれて嬉しい。
嬉しいとか嬉しくないとかそういう問題ではなくてだな。ああ、もういい。
He shouldn't be able to get away with his oblivious tyranny. He shouldn't, and you should say something about it. You are his friend. If he'd been a politician, he would have been the target of scrutiny. If he'd been a soldier, he would have been called a rebel. But since he's my friend, he gets to get away with it. But Kawase was forgiven. That must have been the luck he was born with. But what annoyed me even more was that he himself didn't seem to derive any joy from his own selfishness. Noticing my unamused gaze, the malicious smile returned to Kawase's face.
ところで早く帰らないとまずいんじゃない？雨強くなってるよ。
言われなくとも帰る。
I remembered my manuscript, gathered it up, and tapped it against the table to straighten it out. Kawase's terrible move was improving. Perhaps he had finally given up on his uniform.
それにしてもおかしな場所でんだよな。君が働く梅鉢堂ってのは。
ん？まあ、もう慣れた。
さすが。君も君ってやつだから。
おい、どういう意味だそれは。
変人同士お似合いって意味だよ。それじゃあね。期待してるよ、玉森くん。
That damn wannabe editor. Ah! So he is your friend and your... Okay. Everyone is a wannabe something here. I get it though. Oh, map! Taisho Era... Oh, map gone! So fast! We didn't even get to analyze it. 2 years ago, we came to the capital from the countryside of Aizu. Kawase and I had been together for as long as I could remember, so he was something like a childhood friend. He is the childhood friend route. Long ago, we would often play by the mountain streams. We'd fish, catch bugs, and laugh together. I say laugh together, but Kawase had that same finicky personality even back then. So he wouldn't touch the fish he caught, and let all the bugs he kept die. Anyway, he was a fussy man. That's why what I thought was fun and what he thought was fun were probably completely different. People were generally shocked whenever I talked about our relationship. They joked, friends today, enemies tomorrow, lovers next week. For better or worse, he and I were complete opposites. Unlike me, Kawase was flexible, unique, special, a genius. My writing, like the piece from earlier, had the power to captivate people. And yet, Kawase's true nature, like what he'd shown the waitress and me, was pitch black. The reason we could hurl our insults at each other and still hang out could be summed up in a few words. We were childhood friends. The streetcar, which was running a little behind schedule, finally came. Suddenly pushed in, I was forced to stand in the corner of the car as the best place. The rain was coming down hard now, making the midday sky dim. It was cold rain. I wondered how long this year's rainy season would last. Someone once said, instead of asking the rain in the sky, ask the cat.
What?
Cats. Animals. Speaking of animals. The streetcar went from Kanda Bridge to Jinbocho via the Nishikicho Riverside. Car number 47. A smoky fragrance gently wafted by when I jumped down from the streetcar. It was the unique atmosphere that drifted through the old book town of Jinbocho. Used bookstores here and there were closing up their shops because of the rain. Customers were driven out in groups. The shopkeepers were indifferent to them only during times like this. The customers without umbrellas had no choice but to find a place for cover other than under the eaves. Overflowing with sighs, they ran through the old book town. I was in a hurry, but not because I wanted to get out of the rain. There was a reason I needed to get back to the shop right away. The shop was called Umebachito. Located on the outskirts of the old book town, it was an iron building that at first glance didn't appear to be an old bookstore. It was a mysterious old building that looked more like a nobleman's storehouse or a bank's treasury. I leaned my umbrella against my shoulder and opened the doors using both hands and abundance of force. We only opened the shop during the gloomy, rainy weather like this. Oh, unique.
店主、ただいま戻りました。
That's a lot of books.
はい。
Okay. The shopkeeper gave me a small nod from behind the shoji. He coughed a few times and seemed to be turning over in his bed. The shopkeeper said he suffered from an illness. That's why, in an effort to be as considerate as possible, I kept myself from hurrying as I headed up the second floor. That is an interesting poster. Pizuruka. I burst into my room, stumbled, walked over the futon I never put away, and jumped toward the fishbowl.
金魚。
In the bowl was a goldfish, swimming around in a huff. That is a unethical fish container. I looked down at him and felt like I could finally breathe. Goldfish, you are my only friend. Thank goodness. I thought you were dead because of this unethical container. The animal I had remembered on the streetcar was this guy. I had been worried the earthquake earlier may have frightened him, but it didn't look like any water had spilled out. The bowl hadn't even moved. Apparently, Umebachiro didn't just look sturdy. The water was cloudy. I guess I had been so engrossed with my manuscript over the past 3 days and nights that I hadn't even thought about cleaning out his bowl. Oh man, irresponsible pet owner. This won't do, I thought as I grasped the goldfish tightly in my hand and scooped it out of the dirty water. Just squeeze that thing, scoop it up, and just hold it. The goldfish writhed, gasping for air. I know you're suffering, but please hang in there. I threw the dirty water out the window and tossed the goldfish into the now empty bowl. You'll have to suffer for just a little longer. I felt around the rain gutter above my head and pulled out the cork plug. As soon as I did, the rain that had fallen onto the roof into the gutter drained into the fishbowl. Dude, this is gutter water. Freed from gravity, the goldfish swam around peacefully. I plugged the rain gutter back up and was filled with happiness at seeing my now content goldfish. I see the color of the goldfish changed as well. A shadow suddenly flickered beneath the fishbowl. When I moved the bowl, I saw a red umbrella looking up at me in shock. Red umbrella? Is Wachong?
相変わらず雑だな。
みなかみ、ちょうどよかったな。私も今帰ったところだ。
うん、ちょうどよかった。
またお前の言う通り雨が降ったぞ。おかげでほとんど濡れずに済んだ。